The Sharks Golden Knights begins tomorrow. Puck drops 7:30 at the SAP Center. That series should be epic. Speaking of epic, we have epic right here. Epic Bill Bradley. I love it. Extreme sports superstar, ultra marathoner, conquered the English Channel, explored Mount Denali, traversed the Grand Canyon, recently went to Mt Aconcagua, and I was fascinated by this journey because that is the highest point in the Western and Southern hemispheres. We caught up together during your trip, during your ascent, and you're back. Good to see you safe. Good to see you rested. Welcome back to the Bay Area. Thank you for joining us. So, first off, can you give us the nuts and bolts of the Aconcagua expedition?
Thanks, Mark. But I just want to straighten one thing out. I didn't quite make the English Channel. I made it 20 miles. It's 21, and I got separated by the boat from the boat in a storm. We could talk more about that later.
Okay, absolutely, we will.
That's a good story.
We got a lot of time
and I'm still
to dive
alive.
in.
But Aconcagua, yeah, I went down there. I just got back. I think I've been back about 3 weeks. I got sick on the mountain. It was very difficult. It was my second attempt at it. Last year I made it to 22,200 feet, and it's 22,800 feet. I was super close. I thought I was going to make it for sure. I didn't even like, and then the guide looks at me and he goes, when we're doing the last, it's, you go up to the summit, it's like a 13-hour day. And he goes, Bill, you're swerving. I go, well, what does that mean? He says, well, you're swerving. And what happens is when you're up at altitude, it means you're like getting drunk. And so you start to swerve. So that was code like, you're probably in trouble. Because I go, how do I stop swerving, right? And so I remember I sat down, we took a break, and we sat down at 22,200 feet, 600 feet from the top, and I couldn't stand back up. I tried like 3 times and I kept falling down, and it was like, you got to go down. And and I remember I told my guide about where I stopped on Denali, where I'd attempted that later in the year, and he said, he goes, I know exactly where that is, because he guides on Aconcagua also. He goes, I stepped over a dead body there. I go, well, it wasn't mine.
Wow. So you said when you get that high is in the altitude, you almost feel like you're drunk. Outside of that feeling, obviously, like just your body, how does your body feel when you put it through such a rigorous, extreme workout? How does it feel in the days after? So when you descended and I guess you're back home, how does your body feel?
Tired. So I'll tell you about Denali last year. When I attempted it, I made it up to 18,000 feet. And I was on the mountain 21, 22 days. I was on the mountain 16 days down there. But I remember just an example of how it feels was after a month, I couldn't do anything. I was just doing a little bit of walking. And I remember my coach, she had me down for yoga, like gentle yoga. And she goes, Bill, can you make it to gentle yoga? I don't know, I don't think so. She goes, well, just get by the door. And if you're too tired, if they do something, just walk out the door. This is gentle yoga. This is like really easy. But that's how, like, my mind is done, my body's done, everything needs to recover. I mean, everything. It's just like I couldn't put any stress on it for months. 6 weeks anyway.
And going back to Argentina, so you said you were about 600.
That was last year, yes.
Yes, 600 feet out from the summit. What does it feel like? Because when you're talking about 600 feet, I'm guessing most people would be like, well, at 600 feet, you could maybe power through. But what does every step feel like when you get to that point and you're that high?
Yeah, I mean, like you're drunk? No. But it's like, guys have theories when you get up that high, it's like 2 breaths, 1 step. 2 breaths, 1 step. 2 breaths, 1 step. I mean, it can take a long time to summit some of these mountains. But see, where I'm at was I'm with a group. And so if you can't go the pace of the group, you got to go down, because they're not going to leave you up there by yourself.
How many people in your team?
I think there was 8. And maybe 2 had already dropped, I think 5 made it. The one guy made it, and he made young guys. These were guys from Australia, like early 20s, and he made it. And when he came down, he was on a leash. They had him on a leash because he goes, I shouldn't have done it, Bill. As soon as I got up there, I threw up when I summited, and I had no control. And he was like this. He was like, ugh, and the guide's holding him as he's coming down the hill like he's a dog.
But what is the descent like then, if that's...
It's not steep there.
Okay.
I mean, Aconcagua is really just known for the height.
Uh-huh.
It's not a kill you, gonna fall like Denali is. Denali, there's some falls where you die, you know what I mean? If you slide off or you get going, you could drag your whole team down the mountain and die.
So with all of these, you know, wild feats that you've done, has there been one in particular or any moment where you actually feared for your life?
God, good question. I will tell you, after I did Denali my first year, I got sick on the mountain. And I had made everything up to that point. I was doing all the basic, you know, Death Valley, the Badwater, and I'm like, I just don't quit, right, at all. Mm-hmm. And so I remember but I didn't feel good when I landed in Anchorage, right, Alaska, and I go like, oh my God, I'm feeling like I'm getting sick. No, I'm gonna will it away. Mm-hmm. And I did for about 8 days, right, or something like that. And then all of a sudden I go like, wow, I'm really getting sick. And then I told the guy, and I remember, and I talked to the guy, and I said, but I think I could still make it, right, you know? And so we kept going, and I went up to 14,000 feet, and then, I mean, I got so sick, like a fever, I think it was like minus 20 wind chill or something like that. And I'm like unzipping my sleeping bag because I'm in a fever. At night, I'm boiling up, and then I remember I'm zipping it up, zipping it down, zipping it up, zipping it down, because I get hot and cold. And then I fell asleep, and I woke up, and my hand was outside the bag, and I'm like, no! And I put it under my armpit, and the blood started flowing into it. And the guy goes, it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes, or you would have lost your hand, you know? I was like, damn.
How much sleep do you get on these expeditions? Because you're going with a camp, right? You have a team. You have your rations, but how much sleep are you getting?
Mountain climbing, you get a lot of sleep because they're usually resting you for days when you hit a certain altitude, so you climatize, so you get used to that altitude, or you go down, and you're usually climbing. I mean, the summit day is always a tough one. That's like gonna be a big one because they're usually trying to take you from a lower level. It's a pretty long day. But everything else, you know, maybe 8 hours, you're gonna get 8 hours of sleep, or try to get 8 hours of sleep. Yeah, now when I do the race in Minnesota, that's a different story where I'm running in the snow, and then you're getting like an hour, hour and a half, and you're pulling this 40, you know, so I'm used to really bad sleep deprivation too.
Now, aside from some of the illnesses that you've caught on some of these mountains and whatnot, what's the worst, or what are some of the most physical injuries that you've had to your body? Have you broken any bones? What has that been like?
No, I have not.
Good.
Fortunately, I have not.
Great news.
I haven't been hurt in 15 years.
Oh, that's great.
Other than I got a hernia when I got really sick and I just blew out my innards. And even that, I was like, oh, I don't get hurt. And I trained for like 2 more weeks, and then I go, okay, this isn't going away. It was like this bulge here, and I had to get that sewed up. But most injuries, you know, that a lot of endurance guys occur are mental, like stress injuries. Okay. You know, like a lot of my injuries, like I quit running in college, you know, just at the JC I was running, but because I had a pain in my knee and stuff, and it wouldn't go away, and now I know that was in my head. You know what I mean? It's like a mental thing that your body will put stress in an area to cause it pain, so you don't do what's stressing you. It basically gives you an excuse. You see a lot of the pro athletes when the big game's coming up, they get hurt, and they really think they're hurt, but I look and go, I can always go, that's in his freaking head, man. It's too much stress on him. He did this or that or this. And I remember the Olympic trials where I can't even remember who the 2 sprinters were, but 2 of them pulled up lame. They were talking trash to each other. I went to it. It was in Sacramento, and they both pulled up lame in the same race. I go, too much pressure, man. Yeah. Both of them did. It was like the quarter mile or the half 200 or something.
Hinting to that, we talk about the physical aspect, but then the mental aspect really plays a big part. What is more mentally agonizing, the ultra marathons, or is it mountain climbing? or the epic swims?
Yeah, God, it depends. You know what? It's always like right after I do whatever it is. That's the hardest. That's the dang hardest.
Yeah, that's the one then, right?
It's always because it's fresh in your memory. It kicks your butt. You know, like when I was trying to swim that English Channel, and I swam for 12 hours, no wetsuit. Got within, you could see the shore. They put a sign up. It said 4 miles to go, and this was my 5th attempt at the English Channel. I go, and I didn't learn to swim till I was 35 years old. You know, I learned to swim to do triathlons. And so I'm like, this is huge, I'm gonna make it. And then this big storm blew in and it was a black clouds and the wind started whipping and these big waves hit me and it's like just slamming me. And I'm just like, okay, keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. And I swam for another hour and then I looked over at the boat, because you got a boat that feeds you like with a rope and they, you know, and they're supposed to kind of keep you on track. And they put up a sign that said 7 miles to go.
Oh.
I go, no way. I go, note to self, tell the crew, never put a sign up that's bigger than the last sign for the mileage. Boy. And I tried to get my head together, and I'm still doing it. And finally, I'm like, dig. I just keep digging, Bill. Just keep digging. This is gonna let up. You're gonna make it. And all of a sudden, I looked around, and the boat was gone, man. It was like I couldn't see it. It was like the perfect storm. Remember the guys out there at the end of the movie? Mm-hmm. That was me. I'm looking around. There's big waves everywhere, and I'm looking around.
Clooney, right?
Clooney.
Yeah, that was Clooney in that. Yeah. That was Clooney. And I'm looking around, go, oh no, the perfect storm. And you're just like a little head out there, man. That's all you are, man. To them, there's no GPS on me. There's nothing. And so finally, I saw the boat like 200 yards towards England. And I swam to the boat, and then the guy called it because it was just too rough, you know. But yeah, after that, I would say, English Channel's the toughest, swimming's the toughest.
That moment when you come up and you don't see the boat, and what's going through your mind in that exact moment? Is it terrified? Is it sad? Like, oh, I know this is over. What's the
I was
first initial
relatively calm, but I remember thinking, this is bad.
Yeah.
Because that's how people, some people die in the English Channel because they lose the boat. You know, I mean, the boat loses them. And I remember I had a mentor, my friend Bob Roper. He just passed away this past year, but he had the record for swimming under the Golden Gate Bridge for like 42 years. And when I came back, I said, oh, yeah, you know, they lost me. They go, what are you talking about? That's your lifeline. You don't lose them. Right. I go, well, nobody told me that. I thought they were supposed to not lose me.
Hey, who's in the boat, right? How about that? Okay. Wow. Okay, so you mentioned the English Channel. It's my understanding that the next adventure after, you get your bearings again, you get back into training, will be the English Channel once again.
I'm dying to get back swimming again. It's just that it's like such a... Well, when I swam the English Channel, I put on 50 pounds of weight, you know, because you want to be warm, but I probably got carried away because it was kind of fun. So I just kept eating and drinking, and, you know, because it keeps you warmer like a seal.
It's fun putting on the weight.
Oh,
right?
my God. And then afterwards, like, oh, what did I do to myself? And, and I just, I got tired of being that big. And so I couldn't. I had trained, the last time I went over there, I had trained
Which was when, by the way?
3 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago. And I had trained, after I lost the boat, I said, okay, I got to be strong enough I can swim through a storm. Mm-hmm. I trained so hard. I was in that bay every day, not every day, every weekend, you know, I was getting at least 1 4-hour swim on the weekend, no wetsuit, all year. I'm talking December, doesn't matter. You know, and I'm getting a 4-hour swim every weekend in the bay, putting in huge hours. And then I went out there, and it was so rough, I never even got a chance. I stayed there 6 weeks.
When you're in English,
that was heartbreaking.
How cold is that water when you're in the English Channel?
It's like in the 60s. So the bay, when it warms up, it's very similar. Okay. English Channel in the winter is like 40s, and this is like probably 50. And I think high 40s sometimes, the bay. Everybody jumps in all year round here. It's just, people are tough. The swim, when I swim with because there's like really elite swimmers in that club, like really elite. And they're great, you know, and it just fires me up. But it's like, yeah, they just swim, man, and they're way faster than me.
What's your timeline for this next expedition here? Because training has to start soon that you were talking about.
Oh, okay, this is my problem, okay? This is what I do wrong a lot of times. I realize I only have so long on this earth, even though every morning and every night I tell myself, I'm 30, I'm 30, I'm 30.
Right.
I mean, I like brainwash my head that I'm 30. Yeah. I mean, literally. So if I'm like half delirious and somebody asks me my age, I'm gonna say 30, you know? Because I'm brainwashing that subconscious mind. I don't wanna react like I'm 58. I don't even like saying it. You know, so I always say I'm 30. And, you know, but I know that I only got so long, even at 30, that I can do these events. So I try and cram too much stuff usually in a year. It's like even right now, I'm like, I feel better. I just started running again pretty good. And I'm like, oh man, I feel good. I tell my coach and it's like, I want to do everything again. And then I get, you know, and then you're in trouble because you're jumping back and forth between, so I went to my class reunion and my high school reunion. This is how I get myself in trouble, right? So I go to my high school reunion and the lady was there who held the mile record, and I ran the mile, and she ran the mile, and it only recently got broke, and it was like amazing. And I had told her that I was saying, that's great, you held that record that long, and I said, you know, I'm thinking about trying to run a 6-minute mile again. I haven't run one in 20 years. Wow. I haven't tried. And she goes, you'll never run one of those again. Ever, like 4 evers. I go, 4 evers? I call my coach the next day. I go, guess what we're doing? I know I'm training for this 135-mile run in the snow where you got to pull your sled, but I got to run a 6-minute mile before that. So I'm like, so I jump in and I start training for a 6-minute mile. This is not smart. It's not smart. Yeah. I mean, but my highlight, I got to tell you. So I was starting to get faster at it, but it was going to take longer than I thought. I go, I could do one of those in a couple months. Well, in a couple months, I wasn't ready. I probably needed 2 more months. But I remember I showed up at the track, Sonoma State, and there was one of the high schools running their intervals. And I'd been doing them for about 6 weeks, and I told the coach, I said, hey, can I jump in with you guys for a couple intervals?
Good.
And I said, I'm trying to run 6-minute pace, so I got to do a 90-second, I'm doing a half a lap, 45 seconds. And the coach goes, sure. These guys are running for cross country, and they're doing a 6-minute pace, so they'll be doing a whole lap though. So 90 seconds around the track, right? And so I go, oh, that's great. And so I haven't ran track since high school, right? So I jumped in, and I'm behind these 2 little skinny 17-year-olds. Yeah. And I'm like, and I've been doing it about 6 weeks, so I'm getting a little faster all the time. And I get behind them, and I follow them around the turn, and I'm thinking, this is great, you know? And I come, and then all of a sudden on the straightaway, it's like, they're gone, right? But here's the thing. So I'm supposed to do a 45, right? I come through that half a lap. I'm at 40, right? Oh. Yeah, 40. Then the next one was 41 and 42. And then I went at them again. And I did another 40, right? And these guys did the same thing over and over again, right? So I did 6 of them with them. And then the guy comes up to me afterwards, one of the young kids, and he goes, hey, Bill, we just want to tell you something. We went a little quicker than we were supposed to. We were like 78. We're supposed to do 90, right? So 78, 79, 80. You know why? There was no way in hell we were going to let you beat us. I go, oh, I agree. I'd have done the same dang thing. But that got me, you know, kind of screwed me up. You know, I had to, I couldn't.
Screwed your training up.
Screwed my training up. Because then all of a sudden my coaches, I'm doing intervals, and my coaches got me up to 5-hour runs on the beach, pulling a sled with my gear, and I got myself overtrained.
How do you know you're ready for an English Channel expedition?
Oh, I knew that year. I mean, especially the last time, because I did a 10-hour swim in San Francisco Bay before I went the last time, where I was going to swim through a storm. Didn't matter. Whatever was going to happen, I was going to do it, you know. And I did a 10-hour swim here, and Bob Roper, who's my mentor, he just passed away. He still has the Golden Gate Bridge swim. He's held it for like 40 years, where you swim across under the Golden Gate. But he had told me, because I'd have trouble with hypothermia when you're out there that long, you know, and you start getting cold, because I'm in a Speedo, man, you know, and they throw your food on a rope. You never touch the boat, or you're disqualified. You're just treading water out there, and you're doing your thing.
What does the food look like?
Mashed potatoes. So this took me a long time to get this down. Remember, 5 attempts, and I've got these mashed potatoes, and you got to do it in like 30 seconds because you'll start freezing. So you just
squeezing it out of the bag.
Yeah, it's in a bag, like a sandwich bag or whatever they're called. You know, just boom, put it down. And then like some sort of little fruit juice too, you know, like a smoothie juice, you know. So I'd rotate every half an hour would be one and then the other. And so you're swimming, you swim for 12 hours, you got, 30 seconds, a minute every hour that you stop and you're above water. Other than that, you're looking under the water. I mean, it's a really lonely sport.
So after that 12-hour day that you swim, is that when you get back on the boat and then you prepare for the next day, or how does?
Oh, I got to tell you something funny. Okay, so here I am. I don't make the swim, right? Yeah. I got lost from the boat. The guy calls it, and I'm super disappointed. And I get on the boat, and I've had trouble with being seasick and stuff out there. The first 2 times I didn't make it is because I was seasick. Yeah. But I wasn't going to wear a patch or anything. So this time I wore a patch. So I felt okay when the swim was over. But the guy hands me a bucket, right? Because you got to go back all the way to England. I've swam 12 hours. And so I go, what's this for? He goes, well, you'll see. So we start going back, and it's like, my prize was, so I'm puking all the way back to England. And then I listen, and when we'd gotten in the water originally, there was another boat came up with a swimmer on it, and it was like a guy from Australia. And we're next to each other, and you swim to shore. You come from where the boat docks, and then you go to where you start the swim, and you swim to shore, and then you go to shore, and you wave your arm, and they whistle, and then you start. Well, the guy from Australia, before we jumped in, goes, hey, I'll see you in the drink, matey. And this guy takes off like a bullet. I go, holy cows, we're not going to see each other very long. Right. And so anyway, when I finished it, I'm holding this bug, and this wind, this storm is like crazy, And then all of a sudden I hear over the radio that a swimmer had finished. And I go, what? And they go, yeah, the Australian guy finished. I go, well, how did he finish when this big storm hit? He goes, because he was fast enough that he got the protection of those cliffs on France.
So and so the wind,
he was close enough to shore that the wind didn't hit him when the storm hit. And so for the consolation prize, I got the bucket and puked for 2 hours back to England.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. So English Channel 2019, what month is it going to happen?
Oh, it's usually July. I want to finish these land ones, you know what I mean? But I want to, well, that would be 2019. So what are we in, 2019 now? Yeah. Next year I'm going, I was planning on finishing all these and I didn't do it.
So you're planning for 2020?
I am planning for 2020.
That's the next big one on the calendar. Or you want to finish the land one?
I'm going to be doing, this is my plan. I got to, secure my funding. But I'm climbing Shasta coming up in May.
Okay.
May, June. It's a late season because they got a lot of snow up there. So May, June for Shasta, and then I'm going to Rainier. My daughter's claiming Rainier, by the way. She's got a team that she's going up there with, which pumps me up. And then I would be shooting. See, this is the thing where I want to cram everything in because I really want to do Arrowhead, that race in Minnesota.
The ultra marathon.
135 miles, and you pull a sled with your survival gear, and it's the coldest spot in the continental U.S., the coldest time of the year. And this year when I went out there to try it, it was minus 50.
Wow.
I can't even tell you. People go, oh, it's all the same. I go, it's not all. When you get below minus 10 or something, it's all the same. It's not all the same. You leave your hand out for just a couple minutes, man. You got frostbite. In the last 2 years, I had frostbite 3 times. Yeah, when I was on Denali, I got frostbite so bad on my thumb, it turned black, like pure black, and I can't, and I had to come off the mountain. This is a couple attempts ago. And I had to go to 3 doctors till one told me I would keep it,
These were the injuries we're
I know,
asking.
he goes, none of them would commit that I would keep my thumb. And then the third guy goes, well, I think you're going to keep it. And I go, okay, I'm going to put this glove on. And I'm not getting another penny until, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And so that was it, yeah. Nobody wanted to commit. They're like, well, we don't know, you could still lose it. And this. I'm going like, ooh, who wants to lose their thumb? That would be a bad joint. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, sorry, I probably got a little distracted there.
No.
But
so Shasta, Rainier, Arrowhead.
Oh, I want to do Arrowhead, but the problem is Arrowhead is 10 days from Aconcagua.
Oh, so you're gonna go back?
Going for sure. I never quit on your dreams. That's what my message is. I remember I called my sister from the top of Rainier, and I was like, from the top of Denali when I didn't make it this last year, when I made it to 18,000 feet. And I said, damn, man, I didn't make it. I don't feel good. I'm too weak to go to the summit. And I said, I'm supposed to be motivating people to go outside their comfort zone and and finish these things. And She says, well, Bill, maybe your message is different than that. And I said, well, I thought about it a lot. Because why do I keep getting my ass handed to me in these really, I mean, when they're lower, these are the hardest things in the world. And I go, maybe my message is to not quit. You know what I mean? So next time don't quit on your freaking dream. It's so easy to quit, It's easy if you fall in a crevice. It was like after I fell the first year when I got sick up there and I literally fell all the way down the mountain. I just was so weak. That's when I learned, like, you don't wait till the very end to try to go down.
Don't wait till you're at that point.
Yeah, like when you're falling, and I fell in like an area, it's called the no-fall zone, where you slide about 100 yards, and then it's a 2,000-foot drop, and I'm like digging my axe in, and oh, yeah, not good stuff, But it's like, I don't quit. I had to go up to Shasta and work with a private guide because I was so freaked out on steep parts because I fell so much and traumatized myself, and then I took like 2 years off. And so that's where the saying, get back on the horse, comes from. Because if you don't, the fear just builds up inside of there. And so everything, like you said about the fear of, I was freaked out on Shasta, like, oh my God, this is so steep, I'm gonna slide off. But you have to keep doing it. I hired a guide, and we went up for 2 days, and we went up the steepest parts we could find, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. The first time I'm like, oh my God, we're going up that? And down that, and then it's like, but you know what? You keep doing it, and you don't die, and you go, okay, I can do this. Wow. And you beat your fear, man. Or you at least keep it manageable.
Never quit on your dreams. I love it.
Never, ever.
We could find more info on all of this, all the expeditions, all what's coming forward on epicbillbradley.com. You see everything, the courses, the journey that he's been through, and all the exploring that he's done. Thank you so much, Epic Bill Bradley. That was an epic interview on Bay Area Sports Night. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome, you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yes, Eye of the Tiger. Let's take a quick break on Bay Area Sports Night.